Welcome back, first year students. Yesterday, we started with the Merchant of Venice, introduction of Merchant of Venice, and we did the major characters and we were doing the summary of the play. So, I had given you the introduction that Bassanio and Antonio are fast friends. Bassanio is a spendthrift sort of person and Antonio is a melancholic, serious type of person. They both love each other very much. Bassanio is in a need of money because he wants to go to Belmont in order to marry Portia. He approaches his fast friend Antonio, but Antonio does not have ready cash in his hand, and so he suggests that he should take a round of Venice and he can find a money lender on the condition that Antonio will pay back the money. So, what happens that Bassanio goes out in Venice and he approaches Shylock, who is the villain of the play. He is a rich Jew. He does not like Antonio at all because of his professional jealousy. Because Antonio always lends money without interest, and Antonio's reputation is very good in Venice. So Shylock is jealous of him, and so he thinks that this is a golden opportunity for him to take a revenge. So he agrees to lend 3,000 ducats to Bassanio, but he gives a condition that he will lend money only if Antonio signs a bond. And what is written in the bond? The bond says that if Antonio fails to return 3,000 ducats within 3 months, then Shylock is entitled to take a pound of flesh from Antonio's body. But Bassanio does not want to risk his friend's life. But Antonio, who loves Bassanio a lot, he is confident that he will have enough money within 3 months to return to Shylock. So he says that I am ready to sign the bond. So he signs the bond. Now, these were the happenings in Venice, and now we will see what is happening in Belmont. So you should remember that the action of the play takes place at two places, Belmont and Venice. Venice is the seat of Antonio, Bassanio, his friends, Shylock, and all the other people, and Belmont is the seat of Portia. So now the scene shifts from Venice to Belmont. Now we will see what is happening in Belmont. Now in Belmont, Portia is having a lot of suitors every day. Suitors means those people who want to marry Portia. So from all the corners of the world, Portia is having a lot of suitors because, as I have already told you, that Portia is a beautiful young lady who is rich, intelligent, sensitive and sensible. So she is a lady whom a lot of people want to marry. But she can't marry on her own choice because her father has left her a condition. And that condition is that he has left 3 caskets made of gold, silver and lead, and in one of the caskets he has dropped the portrait of his daughter Portia. And nobody knows in which casket there is the portrait of Portia. So, the will is that if anyone is successful in opening the right casket with the portrait of Portia, then he will marry Portia. So, whosoever will pick the right casket, he will win Portia in marriage. Now, the first suitor, the Prince of Morocco, he chooses the gold casket and he fails because He does not find the portrait of Portia there, but a slogan is written inside: "Who chooseth me shall gain what many men desire." So he thinks that many men desire Portia, so he chooses the gold casket. Now the second suitor, he is the Prince of Aragon. He chooses the silver casket, and which proclaims, "Who chooseth me shall get as much as he deserves." Now there are three sentences written on the three caskets. Now on the gold casket it is written, "Who chooseth me shall get whatever what many men desire." And on the silver casket it is written, "Who chooseth me shall get as much as he deserves." So he believes that he is full of merit and he deserves Portia very well, so he chooses the silver casket. But both the suitors are unsuccessful because because they have chosen the wrong caskets. So both of them, they leave empty-handed, and so they, having rejected the lead casket because of the baseness of its material, they have ignored the lead casket because they think that it is not beautiful in looks, it is not shining. And the sentence which is written on the lead casket is, "Who chooseth me must give and hazard all he has." So the last suitor is Bassanio. Now before switching over to the scene of the correct selection by Bassanio, let me tell you that Portia and Nerissa are talking to each other, and Nerissa wants to know the feelings of Portia about the many suitors she is having. And we come to know by their conversation that Portia is not interested in any of them. Now, we also come to know that Portia is a little bit frustrated that she cannot choose a husband according to her own choice, because she is bound to the bond, because she is an obedient daughter and she will stick to the will of her father. She cannot reject the person whom she hates, and she cannot select the person whom she likes. So the last suitor is Bassanio, and whom Portia wishes to succeed. Now Portia wants that Bassanio should make a little bit of delay before selecting the caskets, because she fears that if Bassanio fails, then she will never see Bassanio. So Bassanio has already met Portia once. So Bassanio thinks over his choice, and he is also made at ease by the other members of Portia's house because they are singing a song, and Bassanio finally chooses the correct casket, that is the lead casket, and he wins Portia's hand. So what happens that he chooses the lead casket, and so he can now have Portia as his wife. Now the scene again shifts to Venice. Now in Venice, what is happening? In Venice, there is a lot of topsy-turvy going on. Antonio is upset because his ships are reported to be lost at sea. All his ships are lost in the sea storm, and so this merchant, so Antonio, is unable to repay the bond. Now time is approaching fast for him to repay his money, Shylock's money, and Shylock is becoming more and more impatient and determined to exact revenge from Christians, because his daughter Jessica has already eloped with Christian Lorenzo and converted herself into Christian. Meanwhile, what happened that Jessica, the daughter of Shylock, she has run away with Lorenzo. And who is Lorenzo? Lorenzo is one of the friends of Antonio and Bassanio. So now he is all the more bent upon catching Antonio. So, and she eloped with a lot of money. So Shylock is very, very frustrated with the loss of his daughter and with the loss of his money. So Shylock goes to the court with Antonio, and Antonio thinks that this is the end of his life, because Shylock says that I will stick to my bond. And what is written in the bond? That if Antonio fails to pay the given amount in the given time, then then Shylock can have a pound of flesh from Antonio's body. Now at Belmont, Bassanio and Portia gets married, and on the other hand, Nerissa and Gratiano, they also marry each other. So there are two happy marriages. But what happens that Bassanio receives a letter from Antonio telling him that he has been unable to repay the loan of Shylock, and so he is about to die, because Shylock would not listen to anybody's plea of pity. And Shylock is going to surely kill him. So he wants to meet Bassanio for the last time before his death. So Bassanio and Gratiano are very upset, and they at once leave for Venice with money from Portia. Now Portia is a very sensible person. Portia wants to help Bassanio's friend Antonio, and she gives a lot of money to Bassanio so that he may save Antonio's life by offering thrice the sum to Shylock. But on the other hand, she acts very wisely. Unknown to Bassanio and Gratiano, she sends a letter to her cousin Bellario, who is a lawyer at Padua. Now she seeks his advice so that she may save Antonio's life. Now the climax of the play is set at the court at the Duke of Venice. Now this is a very important court scene, and it is also known as the trial scene. Shylock refuses Bassanio's offer to pay twice the sum. He demands his pound of flesh from Antonio because it is written in the bond. Now the Duke also wishes to save the life of Antonio, but everybody fails to convince the villain Shylock. So at the end, what happens that Shylock is determined to take away a pound of flesh, which will result in Antonio's death. Now what happens? Portia and Nerissa, they both disguise themselves as lawyers, and they come to the court of the Duke of Venice.